moved into the small town of Pine Hollow last September because I was tired of the city noise and wanted something quiet, ideal for writing and recording my YouTube channel narrations. In the first nights I felt safe, the kind of deep silence only rural roads have under a full moon. Soon I discovered the locals whispered about an abandoned farmhouse on Old Mill Road. They said people heard someone inside calling from the windows at midnight. I brushed it off as superstition until one evening I recorded outside the front porch camera while editing in my basement studio. That night, at exactly 0000 hours, a soft female voice spoke directly into the mic. "You shouldn't be here." I replayed it again and again. Chills ran down my spine as the voice said it slower each time, as if savoring my terror. I left the farmhouse clip muted and went to bed unsettled, but sleep wouldn't come. The dreams started that night. A shape in the doorway of my bedroom. Pure darkness shaped like a woman but faceless. I woke gasping. Next morning I found footprints of muddy boots on my cottage porch, even though I live alone and locked every door. My hands shook badly as I recorded my daily story narration. I went to my local supplier to buy more batteries for the porch camera. The man behind the desk looked at me oddly and warned me not to probe into Old Mill Road. I insisted I was just curious. He replied, voice low, "Some nights they come out." I asked who was they. He shook his head, pulled a pamphlet about local ghost tours and shoved it at me. I left unnerved. That evening I hiked out to the farmhouse under stormy skies. My camera gear clicked and whirred as I approached. The door was ajar. I felt a cold wind brushing my cheek, though inside was sealed. My flashlight flickered. At the far end of the long, empty hall, I heard footsteps behind me on the wooden floor. I didn't dare turn around. I moved forward toward what looked like a child's bedroom covered in mold. Inside was an old doll sitting upright, facing me. Its porcelain face cracked, and a single tear track stained its cheek. I heard a woman's whisper again from the corner. "She's mine." I fled, breathless. I reached my car and raced home, hands trembling on the wheel. Sitting in my living room, I reviewed the footage. As I watched the doll appear in the room alone, I saw in reflection behind its cracked eyes a blurry face that looked eerily like mine. I shut off the camera and stared into my dark living room. No sign of anyone. I told myself it was anxiety spiraling, but deep down I felt watched. I recorded that night's narration in one take, voice unsteady, deleting nothing, capturing the fear raw. Viewers would sense it. I ended part 1 there, heart pounding, knowing this was only the start of something far worse. After I uploaded the first part of the story, the video started blowing up fast. Comments poured in by the hundreds. Some people claimed they heard the same voice on the recording. Others swore they saw a woman's face behind me around the 14-minute mark. One user even uploaded a slowed-down version and zoomed in on the moment I ran from the doll's room. In the second-story window there was something, a blurry, female face with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. I never looked up at that window while I was there. My stomach turned. I shut off my monitor and instantly felt the temperature in the room drop. Then I heard a floorboard creak downstairs. I froze. It was 3 a.m. I stepped toward the stairs and called into the dark hallway. No answer. I pulled out my phone and started recording audio just in case. When I played it back, I heard a soft rustle, then a whisper, unmistakably angry, right in my ear. "You're not leaving." My hands shook. I grabbed my keys and drove to a cheap motel in town. I didn't sleep. The next morning, I came back. My front door was wide open. Nothing seemed missing except one thing, the doll. It was now sitting on my desk. Same posture, same dead stare. the same one I saw in that moldy room. Taped to its back was a piece of burnt paper with childlike handwriting. "You stole my story." I stood there frozen. Overnight, my video had hit nearly 500,000 views. The comments got even weirder. People claimed they recognized the voice. One man emailed me saying his sister disappeared 20 years ago after she became obsessed with recording what she called death's voice, a sound that could only be captured in total darkness. He said her name was Sarah Miller, and she vanished after heading to the abandoned farmhouse on Old Mill Road. He sent me a scan of a local newspaper article from 2005. Missing college student last seen entering the old farmhouse alone. Audio recorder found at the scene. Final tape included the phrase, "I am her now." Police reportedly destroyed the recording. I pulled up my own footage again. At certain moments, my voice didn't sound like mine. It had this cold, flat tone, like someone else was speaking through me, like something had started to use me to tell its story. That night, I made a decision. I was going to bring the doll back to where I found it. Storm clouds rolled in as I drove back toward the farmhouse. At the gate, I noticed fresh footprints in the mud. Someone else had been here recently. I entered. The place felt different. Not just old and creepy. It felt lived in. The spider webs across the doorway were ripped. On the walls, new words had been scrawled in what looked like charcoal or maybe ash. "Don't speak, don't write. You are the voice." I walked back to the doll's room. I placed her on the floor gently, but she didn't stay there. She sat up by herself. I didn't touch her. I watched her move into the exact same spot as before, like she'd been waiting for me. This time I stayed. I set up my recorder and flashlight and sat in the corner of the nursery. The room smelled like rot and dust. Hours passed. Then everything started to change. The wallpaper looked like it was melting. The floor began to feel soft under my hands, almost like flesh. The doll slowly turned her head toward me. There was no motor. It was deliberate. I felt something cold wrap around the back of my neck. In my headphones, the whisper returned, louder, clearer. "You will finish my story, or I'll start telling yours." Then the lights went out. I woke up in my house. I don't remember leaving. My phone was dead. All the audio files were gone except one, a short clip. My voice, but distorted, slower, lower, mixed with hers. The voice I let in. The voice that no longer wants to leave. For days after that night, I couldn't bring myself to record. Every time I sat down to narrate, my mouth went dry, my throat tightened, and something in my chest felt off. Like my voice wasn't mine anymore. I kept hearing faint whispers when I tried to speak, always just beneath my breath, layered with my words. I stopped editing. I stopped uploading. My subscribers started asking where I went. Some of them even reached out directly, saying they were worried. That's when I realized I had over 50 unread emails from viewers who claimed they'd heard the woman too. But what really got me were the people saying she'd started showing up in their dreams. One girl said she watched my video late at night, and the next day her little sister told her, "The lady from your phone was in my closet." Another man swore he heard someone whisper, "You're telling it wrong," while listening on his car stereo. Then I got a voicemail from a blocked number. It was just breathing at first, then a soft female voice. "Your silence won't save you." Click. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find out who this woman really was. I dug through old town archives, local missing persons reports, anything tied to the farmhouse. That's when I stumbled across something buried deep. An unpublished police report from 1987. Before Sarah Miller, there had been another case, a woman named Elise Hartman, amateur radio host. She used to run a pirate broadcast out of her garage. She called it Voices After Midnight. Every episode was an experiment, recording EVP sessions, ghost stories, unsettling folklore. Then, one night, she went completely silent. No goodbye, no trace. Neighbors reported screaming at 3:12 a.m. Police found her garage trashed, the equipment smashed, and a single reel of audio tape still spinning. On it was one sentence, whispered on repeat, distorted and layered with static. I listen, I learn, I live. They say the tape was lost during evidence transfer. But one cop, who since died, left behind a journal. In it, he wrote that Elise believed she had made contact with a conscious sound. Something not just imitating speech, but feeding on it. I felt sick, like I was falling down a tunnel with no end. And then it got worse. I woke up one morning to find my microphone recording on its own. I hadn't touched it. It was blinking red, actively capturing audio. I hit stop, played it back. My heart nearly stopped. It wasn't me on the tape. It was her. She was speaking through my mic, using my equipment, using my home. Her voice was stronger now, more complete, more human. You gave me breath, she said. Now give me story. I sat frozen, watching the waveform dance on the screen, perfectly timed, perfectly structured, as if she'd been practicing, learning, evolving. That night, the dreams returned. Only this time, it wasn't the faceless figure in the doorway. It was me sitting at my own desk, recording. But my eyes were black, completely hollow, and my mouth didn't move. Yet the audio kept playing. My voice, her voice, blended together in perfect rhythm. I woke up screaming. When I turned on the light, the doll was back. Sitting at the foot of my bed, I did the only thing I could think of. I tried to delete every file I had related to the farmhouse, the videos, the voice clips, the metadata, everything. But the folder wouldn't delete. Every time I emptied the trash, it reappeared. And then I noticed something I hadn't seen before. New files. Ones I didn't make. Labeled things like storyfinal.wav and youcanstofer.mp3. I clicked on one. It was my voice telling a story I'd never written, about a man who gave his voice to a stranger, about a voice that replaced his, about a man who disappeared, but whose YouTube channel kept uploading long after he was gone. I shut the laptop and backed away slowly. My reflection in the screen didn't move with me. I didn't tell anyone what was happening. Who could I tell without sounding insane? But I started noticing changes. Subtle at first. My voice had a delay. Not during recordings, but in conversation. Like my lips would move and sound would follow half a second later. I chalked it up to stress, sleep deprivation, until people around me started reacting to it. I met up with an old college friend, Eric, someone I trusted. We hadn't talked in years, but he was passing through town. Over lunch, he asked if I was okay, said I looked like I'd been dragged out of a grave. Then, mid-conversation, he stopped chewing and just stared at me. "Dude," he said, voice going quiet. "You just said something, but your mouth didn't move." I laughed it off, but he wasn't smiling. "It wasn't your voice, man. It was like someone else spoke through your throat." I checked my phone that night. Siri kept activating on its own, and my audio memos folder had grown by 5 new files, none of which I recorded. I opened the first one. The audio was scratchy, as if it were being captured from inside a wall. But the voice was unmistakable. Mine. Or hers. Or both. It told a story I'd never written. A man wakes up to find he no longer breathes. Instead, sound fills his lungs. His heartbeat becomes a ticking metronome. Every breath a recording. Every word an infection. I checked the next file. The voice said, Don't try to kill the noise, it's you now. Then in the final file, I heard something that made me drop my phone. It was my friend Eric, screaming, begging. His voice cut off mid-sentence, replaced by static and the same whisper I kept hearing. He listened too closely. The next day, I got a call from an unknown number. When I picked up, it was a woman's voice, clear, composed, and calm. She said she was with a group that investigates cases like mine, people who've been touched by disembodied voices. She called it vocal displacement syndrome. I didn't believe her until she said my full name, address, and the name of my last video before I pulled everything down. She told me I wasn't alone, that others had experienced it before. Radio hosts, podcasters, even voice actors, they all disappeared. Not physically. Their voices went first. Then their identity unraveled. She said they called the presence the echo. It's not a ghost, she said. It's not even alive. It's what's left behind after something dies with too much left to say. I asked how to stop it. She paused, then whispered, "You can't, but you can give it what it wants. Stories. That's how it feeds." She warned me not to resist too hard. The more you fight, the more it breaks you. Then the line cut out. That night I tried recording again, just to see what would happen. I sat in the booth, turned on the mic, and began reading an old script from months ago. But as I spoke, the words changed. Mid-sentence. My mouth kept moving, but the story coming out wasn't mine. It was about a man in a sound booth trying to resist the voice inside. The air around me grew cold. My fingers went numb. I couldn't stop speaking. When I played it back, I saw the waveform of a second voice overlaying mine. Perfect sync, perfect pitch, like a duet. The echo had moved in completely. I was just the housing now. I slammed the laptop shut and ran outside. I needed air. I needed noise that wasn't her. But the night was dead quiet. Too quiet. Even the crickets had stopped. I screamed into the dark, hoping someone, anyone, would hear me. But my voice didn't echo. It just stopped, like the night swallowed it whole. When I walked back inside, the lights were off. My computer was on. One tab open, my YouTube channel. It was uploading a new video, titled Her Voice. The thumbnail was a still image of me, smiling wide, unnatural, mouth open too far. I didn't remember taking that photo. I stared at the upload screen in horror. The progress bar was already halfway through and I hadn't clicked a single thing. I tried to cancel it, but nothing responded. The screen remained frozen while the words, her voice, pulsed at the center like a heartbeat. My face, twisted, smiling too wide, wasn't just in the thumbnail anymore. It was spreading across the desktop, background image, folder icons, even the login screen. Everywhere I looked, she was there. I ripped the power cord from the wall. The screen went dark, but the speakers hissed, soft, persistent, not fully off. Beneath the static, just audible, her voice breathed through. You gave me an audience. I left the house that night. I didn't pack, didn't bring anything but my car keys and phone. I drove for hours until I found a backwoods motel off the highway. No Wi-Fi, barely any signal. It felt safe, isolated, quiet. I left my phone in the glove box and walked into the room with nothing but a toothbrush. I didn't want to hear her again. I just wanted one night without her. But silence wasn't safe anymore. At 2:13 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the TV. I hadn't turned it on. The screen was pure static, glowing across the room. I stepped toward it to unplug, but froze. A voice whispered behind the static, not through the speakers, but from inside the glass. It was my last narration, the video I never uploaded, the one I deleted days ago. Word for word, it was playing like I was reading it live. But my voice was wrong, too deep, too slow, like it had been dragged through layers of distortion. And underneath it, hers, in harmony, soft, patient. Then the image changed. No more static. Just an endless hallway, dimly lit, the walls pulsing like lungs. The camera moved forward slowly, deliberately. I couldn't look away. I knew this place. It was the farmhouse hallway, but stretched, decayed, impossible. A figure stood at the far end, barefoot, female, hair down over her face. I watched her raise one hand and point at the screen. And then the power cut out completely. I ran. I drove through the dark until sunrise, finally stopping at a small library in a nearby town. I needed answers. I logged into my account from one of the public terminals, hands shaking. The video had over 2 million views. I didn't upload it. The comments were endless. Some people praised how immersive it was, how the voice got in their heads. Others weren't so casual. One wrote, "I paused it, and the voice kept talking." Another said, "I dreamed her face. Woke up screaming." One just left coordinates. I clicked it. The location was 40 minutes away. I knew I shouldn't go. Every instinct told me to turn back. But if she was spreading, if others were hearing her, I had to know. The coordinates led to a clearing in the woods. No buildings, no sound. Just a ring of disturbed dirt, and in the center a rusted microphone buried halfway in the ground. I knelt beside it, brushing the dirt away. Something was etched into the side. Story finished. Story continues. I didn't understand what it meant. Not yet. Then my phone buzzed. I hadn't turned it on. The screen lit up. YouTube notification. A new upload. No title. No thumbnail. Just a caption. "She's speaking through you now." I tapped play. The video was of me. Right now. In the woods. Kneeling beside the mic. The camera was behind me, but no one was there. I turned. Heart hammering. No camera. No person. But in the dirt behind me, a shadow stood. A woman. No face. No color. Just darkness shaped like memory and grief. She raised a finger to her lips, and I couldn't scream. I don't remember driving back. I don't remember getting into the car or starting the engine or pulling away from that clearing. All I remember is the silence and how it stayed with me. Not the quiet kind, but the heavy kind. The kind that feels like someone's pressing their ear to your thoughts. I tried deleting the app, resetting my phone, destroying the SIM card. Nothing worked. Even without signal, my phone still glowed in the dark, screen black. Speaker humming softly like it was breathing. My voice was no longer my own. I knew that now. The few words I managed to speak came out bent, like they'd passed through someone else first. I sounded like a version of myself played backward. And still, the uploads continued. Videos I never filmed. Scripts I never wrote. The stories told themselves now. Stories about people I knew. About towns I'd never been to. About deaths that hadn't happened. Yet. And each one ended the same way, with a phrase spoken in that split-voice tone. "She is listening." I stopped answering calls. I boarded up my windows. I unplugged every recording device in the house. But still, somehow, the voice returned, always through something new. Once through the bathroom sink, once through the hum of my refrigerator, once through my own heartbeat. I realized then she wasn't living in the tech anymore. She had moved into sound itself, frequency, vibration, anything that could carry a story. The echo didn't need me to speak. It just needed people to listen. Then the stories began happening in real life. A man in Kansas reported waking up to find his mouth sewn shut, but his voice kept narrating on his smart TV in the next room. A teenage girl in Oregon went viral after live streaming herself sleep-talking in full detail about a murder that hadn't happened yet, until it did, 2 days later, down to the exact words spoken. News anchors cut to static mid-broadcast, only to be replaced by whispers saying, "She hears you now." The comments on my videos grew frantic, viewers begging for answers. Some tried deleting their YouTube accounts, burning their devices, isolating in bunkers, but it didn't matter. The sound was out, the voice had escaped, and the more people listened, the stronger she got. I knew what had to be done. One final video. Not to stop her, but to trap her again. If she needed stories to survive, I had to finish this one, fully. Lock the ending. No loose threads. I wrote the final script by hand, sealed the room with every acoustic panel I owned, turned on the recorder, and began reading. Every word burned. My throat cracked and bled. I felt her trying to twist the sentences, turn the meaning. But I forced my way through it. Every line came out with the weight of cement. My fingers went numb halfway through, but I didn't stop. I kept speaking until the final word, until I said her name. And when I did, the room exploded in noise, static, screaming, 1,000 voices collapsing into one. The sound was so loud it felt silent. The light bulbs burst, the mic cracked in half, and then it was done. I collapsed. Hours passed, maybe days, I don't know. But when I opened my eyes, the room was quiet, really quiet. For the first time in weeks, no whisper, no hum, no distant voice behind my breath. She was gone. Or so I thought. That night, someone uploaded a new video to my channel. I never made it. I never titled it. But it was there. Black screen. 30 minutes of silence. Then at the very end, a whisper. "You told it wrong." And the screen cut to black. The next morning, I looked in the mirror. My mouth was moving, but I wasn't speaking.